Okay, we are on tape, so you can keep that in mind. Any smart remarks are recorded for posterity. So we officially started moving some of our early adopter counties over late last fall. Greene and Cumberland County were a couple of the first counties that moved into the new database, and then it was after the first of the year when we really started adding additional counties to that list. And so right now, just as a general update, where are we? Greene, Lauderdale, Cumberland, Tipton, Sullivan, Rutherford, Wilson, Williamson, the joint group of Sequatchie Bledsoe, Roane County all have probably a majority of their folks who are moved over. So that is, that's 11 or 12 groups who have already made this transition, and then we're in discussions from some of the rest. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what we've been working on over the last, well, January, February, March, and April. One of the comments that we got back from one of the conference attendees was, I came to the conference and I was expecting to hear about this database and I didn't hear anything. Is it going? What's the deal? And so this is my way of saying it's going very well. The transition has been very positive, but we've just been moving counties as the opportunity arises and it works from them. So it's not something that we mandated, pushed out, everybody has to be done by now, because everybody's schedule works differently. And it depends a lot on the preparation in the county. So getting all the records in the right spot to move over. So so if you haven't heard a lot of statewide mandates, it's mostly because we want it to work for the individual counties. And the longer I'm in this position, the more I understand the wisdom of letting people set their own timing within certain limits, right? If, in 2020 you haven't moved, you'll start getting some emails. But we've been making small tweaks and making adjustments and improvements as we go. So there are some elements that have changed since we started transitioning in January, and we're excited about the potential. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch over to a brief PowerPoint that just gives a quick overview of the database and kind of brings everybody up to speed for where we are right now. And when I get done with this, then we're going to jump in to the website and I'm going to give folks a quick tour, and then we'll hear from counties who have already adopted. So this is just a brief explanation to make sure that we're all operating with the same information. So probably one of the most common questions that I've gotten from volunteers as I've gone and visited, because what I've found is the most useful is to do in-person training. So most of the counties that have moved over, I've just gone, we've talked about it, we've worked through that database right there. And the first question they always ask is why? Why do we have a new technology that we're adding? And so this is just a list of some of the main reasons that we really decided that it was time to come up with a new and improved way to gather our service and education hours. One of the first elements is the age of the current system. It's, in technology terms, pretty antiquated, and so our IT staff has had to do a lot of work just to keep it functional. So we kind of have Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids, and just the age of that coding is very, very difficult to support. We also have some ways that passwords are managed that are not necessarily appropriate for our current security protocol, so we needed to make some changes there. I know from my end and working with agents, we've had a lot of new projects be added, and so there's what we call kind of project proliferation. So there are some challenges in data management at the end of the year. And we also have volunteers throughout the state. We've got some of them on this call. I know Aaron Fletcher's on here to throw out a name of someone who does a lot of the service hour inputting in their county. for not only themselves, but for other people. And we have some very talented and dedicated volunteers who are putting in a lot of extra work because they had to log out and log in and log out and log in. So we wanted to make that type of management easier. And it was also not really mobile ready at all. And so we wanted to make it easier to access via tablets and phones. And so those are some of the main reasons why we moved. So these next couple slides are kind of the what's in it for you, right? So what's in it for agents? It's the opportunity to kind of start with a clean slate and say, we don't need to be reporting to 175 projects. If we could report to these 10, 15, or these 20, it'll really simplify our process. So it provides an opportunity to have a discussion with your leaders and say, okay, let's reduce the number a little bit and really start to target what data we want to gather in our county. Provides agents an opportunity to capture contacts that with a push of a button can be moved into Super, which is our general extension reporting system. So this is something that it's a very logical question, right? Why don't our databases talk to each other? And so we're moving in the direction of actually making them talk to each other. There are more graphical capacities. You can pull up a pie chart that shows what you've done to date this year with the click of a button and send that off to your county commission. It empowers volunteer managers, and I mentioned that in the last slide. We have a lot of great folks who do a lot of work to manage other volunteers' hours and their own in the group. And we have new roles that will allow volunteers to have not quite as high as an agent, but expanded capacity so that they can do what they do best to support their local group. And password management is automated. And so that's one of the big assets for volunteers to be able to just, if you forgot your password, you can get an opportunity to email yourself, make up a new one. I know for agents, for myself, I get emails from people who have forgotten their password. So we can no longer log in and look up your password. You will be able to get it sent to you and manage that all yourself, just like pretty much every other website that we work in online and ordering. So what's the benefit for volunteers? We have a dashboard view that's modern, a more clean look. You can access your personal summary with one quick glance. There's a dashboard that shows you all your service hours and education hours to date, and you can also look up that summary for your county. You cannot go in and look up individual volunteers in your county's numbers, but you can see what everybody together looks like, and it's a great opportunity to, it's a shot in the arm, really, to see what all is being accomplished. There are roster features that will allow folks to hopefully not have to maintain a separate volunteer roster. So you have the opportunity to upload your pictures, look up email addresses and phone numbers for people within your group, and network. Much easier on a mobile format, and we no longer have the need or the capacity to make up project names. So when you log into your county, hopefully you will not see a list of 150 projects to try to scroll through. It will be a simplified list. So when we think about this in terms of just the roadmap of timing of moving over, the first question would be, when can a local group move over? Well, the main element that needs to be in place is the agents or the county staff having all of their Master Gardener volunteers as volunteers in Super, our main extension database. They need to be active and they need to be listed as a Master Gardener volunteer. One of the main differences in this database and the other database is that individuals are being located by their email addresses. And so everybody needs to have an email address in Super, and it needs to be unique. And to be able to pull in records from the old database, the email address in Super needs to match the one in the old database. So when should a local group move over? This depends on what works well for you and your county. When your coordinator, your agent, and your local group leadership are ready. I kind of hinted around at this in some of the other slides, but an important note is that your old hours will be moved in, but the old projects will not be moved in. So new projects need to be loaded into the database. It's not terribly time consuming, and in many ways I think it's positive because it gives you a chance to sit down and talk about what's really important, but it will take a little bit of time to go ahead and make those new projects. And as a quick note, it would be nice if when you decide to make this switch, somebody in Knoxville has a sense of when it's coming, because I've been kind of trying to stagger counties moving over so that when we start to answer questions, we know where they're coming from and we don't have 4 counties switching on one evening and creating a challenge to get all those questions answered. So this is my last slide. I promise this is the end of the introduction. Some final important notes is we have a 1 person to 1 email connection and matching point for volunteers. This is something that's easy to say, but it actually took IT a long time to get all this coding in place, and we're really thankful to Brad Greenfield for putting in all the extra effort to make sure that your data will come with you. So as long as the email addresses match, what's in the old database will be brought into the new database. It will be called archive data, and you'll be able to look up previous years and access all those records. And the final thing to say, maybe for the 3rd time, is that we don't right now have a schedule. We want you to move at a time that fits for you. So I'm going to stop sharing that presentation, and I am going to start sharing the database itself.